mindset of I'm independent and don't need a man, it just doesn't work long term. I mean, like I said, my previous career, I could see the numbers, and it's like this is not working. What you're doing, you need to make some changes. You and you need to get you should be looking to get married. Both men and women, we need each other. And we looked at some numbers today that actually proved that. It said that if if you plan on having kids, you definitely should be married, because that's the but that to give them, so you're not starting them off at a deficit. We already know that. But even if you're looking to make it to the end of life, unless you got some kind of extreme financial windfall coming your way, most people, or you're not going to make it. Welcome back to Money, Marriage, and Media. Today we are looking at the PEEF experience. A lot of women think they don't need a man. This comes from the show The Solution. So we're going to find out what the solution is.
The government benefits from two people who are dating paying rent in two separate places versus coming together, getting married, and sharing a home and sharing bills. So
More taxes.
even though,
Makes
what Trigger
sense.
Mike was saying, the government doesn't have, much say in it, they do benefit financially from us staying single. Also, I would love if Black Americans can look into homeschooling more. It's so much different than how it was in the past. We can overcome the social problems that,
I'm homeschooling my son.
Oh, you are? That's
Yeah, and somebody actually
amazing.
laughed at me on a panel for it before. Like,
Absolutely not. I'm thinking about doing that. I would love to
yeah,
do that for my future children. I
it's
think
awesome.
the test scores agree when it comes to, children's intelligence with homeschooling. And also you get to dictate what your children learn. A lot of us don't agree with what they're teaching in schools now. And I think we can mitigate that by teaching our own children, preferably the women, but I think it's just best that we take control of our next generation's education.
Absolutely, because they're pushing whatever they want on these kids, and sometimes they're not going to give you a warning about what they're teaching your kids. So my kid comes home and tells me something wild they taught. Now I have to fight a teacher. I don't want to do that.
And I think it's like more layered than that, right? Especially if we're going to be talking about the Black community, with the crack epidemic, with mass incarceration, like, and just the system that keeps people in poverty. I think that is divide and conquer, right? And so those were like the first steps to it. And now with the women's empowerment movement and encouraging women to focus on their work, and now it even being taken as far as like, you don't need a man, that whole narrative is to destroy the concept of the nuclear family, right? And when you don't have family, you don't have community. And when you don't have community, you don't have progression, right? So I think that is a tale as old as time. I think it's been repeated through history over a multitude in very different ways. But I wholeheartedly agree.
I do agree with it. There is a lot going on, especially with women. I would say, as more women in the limelight become successful, a lot of the young women want to be that and more, but they think that they can just, kind of like what is it Inez has said about not needing a man and stuff like that. I think that's an issue. And I think that is kind of breaking up the unity, because there's a lot of women out there that really believe that they don't need a man. They put these thoughts in their mind like, oh, I'm working on myself. I don't need that right now, this, that, and the third. So I just think that has a lot to do with it. I also think a lot of the way the economy is, it's so expensive. So it's kind of forcing both parents or both individuals to work so many hours to make a certain income so they can, take care of their family.
Now that's an interesting point. That leads us to what I really wanted to talk about here today. It just so happens that this clip that was recently released lined up with it, right? We got to start having conversations about this, because for whatever reason, You can call it. I've recently watched another video where, and I've had people comment on some of my videos that we're scaring people into marriage, and that you just telling women they can't afford it so they'll get married. Okay, well, what else you gonna do? You literally can't afford to do anything else. Can't afford to be single. It's just not enough, right? It's just not enough money. So what I want to do is we're gonna go here. I'm gonna bring this in. Average income in the state of Illinois for women. Now, we looked at some similar stats in other states on previous videos, but I wanted to pay attention to this one because I found out here that Illinois has is one of the states where you can make particularly more than the others, right? So women in Illinois, the median annual earning is $42,000, but of course in other states it's a lot. So like, let's look at the state of Georgia because that's where I'm at. 25,000. That's a big difference, right? Yes, but there's a reason for that. See, this is why we're looking at this, is because we have to start telling ourselves the truth. This information is available. All I'm using is just standard Google questions, right? But everybody needs to move to Illinois, right? Because there's more money there. Not really. Because again, what I've said this before is that what comes along with states that pay more income, higher cost of living, right? So we're going to look at the cost of living in the state of Illinois. Again, I just Googled how much money do you need to live comfortably in Illinois. See, if you're just an adult, one grown up with no children, before taxes, you need to be making $39,000. Well, if the average woman is making, 42, then everything looks good, right? Except when we come over here to this column here, 2 adults, both working, 2 children, 109. That's a big difference, isn't it? See, so once you start bringing children into the mix, all of a sudden everything changes. And oh my God, annual taxes, 18,000, Jesus. But remember that the cost of living is higher, and you warrant that with making more money. So I want to show you guys something. Cost of living in the state of Georgia. How much money? Same question, right? Okay, but one adult, 0 children, required annual income before taxes, 36,000. Okay, now that's a lot more than what the average woman is making in the state of Georgia, which was 25. But here's the interesting part, right? 2 adults, 1 working. Right? It's not 2, it's just 1. 3 kids. So we added an extra kid, and look at this. Before taxes, 88,000. Now let's go back to Illinois. Look at this. It's 2 adults, 2 kids, and 109. That's a big difference. You see what's going on here? These numbers, we have to start learning how to break this data down, because how does this relate to what we're talking about? Okay, well, if we say the average woman is making $42,000 a year, and yeah, she's getting by fine because you don't need that much money. She's making more than what's required to live comfortably. No, you're not. Because the minute you start having kids, that's not enough. You both working, and according to this, the guy's going to have to make up the difference, because if the woman's making 42, the guy's responsible for getting the rest of that. And that's more than what the average man makes. So this is why I say that, we still need each other, is that because what this doesn't include is calculate all this, all this includes is calculating when, you living with 2 kids. What it doesn't talk about is the amount of money you need to be bringing in order to actually or to realistically save for retirement. Because I can go ahead and tell you now, living comfortably at 39, you're not saving, and the average is 42, you're not saving for retirement there. You're not. See, so that's why I say that you need 2 incomes. Now, usually what I recommend is, we're going to cut what to do with your money. We'll have to cover that in another video because I don't want to get off topic. I did want you guys to see that, though. But let's go ahead and finish the conversation here, and we'll come back later.
Yeah. So a lot of times people say government, and I don't think too many people have worked for the government in any capacity before to know that the government is not that efficient when it comes to putting down things for an entire ethnic group. What it really usually is, if we're going to say government, it's a small group. This is what they like to call the deep state, that has a certain interest in seeing things go down. It's not like the president don't know what the hell going on. Most senators, most congressmen, and most congresswomen don't know what's going on. What I believe we always talk about the government is actually the private sector. The private sector has a huge interest in women. And the one thing I want y'all to take a notice to is that higher education is what started all this BS, because the price of education has outpaced the increase in wage, right? So when women started going to school no longer became just a thing, it became profitable. So marketing education to women became a thing. Marketing basically everything. And from that model is why you see everything pushed toward women. The consumer is, everything is pushed toward women. It doesn't really do anything for the government when you look at it on the back end. This country, let's say its foundation, its economy is built on the American mortgage. That means the government has more investment in people building families, because families buy homes. Single people don't buy homes like that. I believe it's around 14% for women and 9% for men. Men don't really want to buy a house if they don't have to live in, unless they have a family to put in there. So it's really counterproductive for the government to have interest in single people. It doesn't really have it. Someone in the deep state might see.
No, I disagree, because you're going to pay with nuclear families. There can only be one breadwinner. Yes, both people can work, but there's still only going to be one breadwinner. The second person usually has a job that's more flexible, where they make less money, significantly less money in most cases, right? But whereas if you're two individuals who are filing for your taxes separately, and you need to make, what was it? You're in the state of Illinois and you're a woman, you need to make 42,000. Whereas if you guys are together, you don't have to make that. So yeah, two people are going to pay more taxes than a married couple. You tax at a higher rate. So yeah, I mean, you know what? I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just presenting another side of it, because again, women are 80%. The majority of the consumer base is female. But guess what happens when those same women get married? The amount of spending that they do actually goes down, because men are harder to convince to buy things. And that influence rubs off on the wives that they're with. So the women, married women tend to spend less than single women. So that's why I say, when if you don't think the government has a what do you call it, an interest in keeping women single, I don't know about that. I would have to get that some pushback.
See a financial benefit in it, but it's really the private sector that has major interest in women being single and alone. I cannot drive anywhere in the Houston area without seeing new apartment buildings everywhere, even places they're not supposed to be, right? They're not really supposed to infiltrate the suburbs like that. It's supposed to be zoned off solely for single family homes, but nope, so many single people that decided to put new apartment complexes there, even though it's going to overcrowd the schools, right? So a lot of these businesses have huge interest in keeping women single and the family.
I've been seeing that a lot too. Like a lot of apartment complexes right down the street from the house, and I'm like, what is this? Like,
you've never seen that before, right?
I was like, this is so much, and it's like they're making do with whatever little bit of space they got, and they're just building stuff. They build it so damn fast too. But were you done, Trigger? Okay, Chanel, did you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I totally agree with Trigger Mike. I believe Kevin Samuels talked about this some time ago, that, the government benefits from two people who are dating, paying rent in two separate places versus coming together, getting married, and sharing a home and sharing bills. So
that's
even though, what Trigger Mike was saying, the government doesn't have, much say in it, they do benefit financially from us staying single. Also, I would love if Black Americans can look into homeschooling more. it's so much different than how it was in the past. We can overcome the social problems that,
I'm homeschooling my son.
Oh, you are? That's
Yeah, and somebody else just
amazing.
laughed at me on a panel for it before. Like, I'm like,
Absolutely not.
Nah,
I'm
you know what?
thinking about
As a father, I can actually respect that, just because you can, you get to design the curriculum. Don't get me wrong; it does come with its drawbacks because it is a time commitment, and yeah, and then you're around your kids all day long. Yeah, all day long. So it does have its benefits, but there are some cons that come with that.
doing that. I would love to
yeah,
do that for my future children. I
it's
think
awesome.
the test scores agree when it comes to children's intelligence with homeschooling, and also you get to dictate what your children learn. A lot of us
Yeah,
don't agree with what they're teaching in schools now, and I think we can mitigate that by teaching our own children, preferably the women, but I think it's just best that we take control of our next generation's education.
Absolutely, because they're pushing whatever they want on these kids, and sometimes they're not going to give you a warning about what they're teaching your kids. So my kid comes home and tells me something wild that they taught. Now I have to fight a teacher. I don't want to do that. You know what I
she
mean?
did say that.
So anyway, move
I thought I misheard that the first time around. She did say fight a teacher. Good gracious of life.
it on to Sahira.
Yeah, I agree with almost everybody said like touch really good points. But looking at it from outside of the United States, these things are happening in my country as well. But I would say is a mindset because the government or private sector can push us to, like having to work for both, people having to work, the mother and the father. But if you don't have the mindset that family goes first, then you're not gonna make it happen. Because for us, it's like even if the woman has to go to work, what I have noticed the difference is that the man is always helping the woman. When they come home, she's not, or the man is not expecting for her to do everything. So she knows that's her job to do, and she's not complaining about it. But the man kind of meets her halfway, which what I've
Yeah.
seen the difference that the man only wants to be served or attended, and the woman has to go work and do all this stuff. But in what what I see here, the difference is that men are always willing to do something. They're
So what she's really saying is that relationships are about balance. There's a balance being offered in the roles within the marriage, and that's how most relationships work. I don't know where this idea of the woman has to do everything. Well, I'm working now, but you still got your responsibilities as being she got to cook all the meals and clean and all this stuff and take care of the home along with her job or her career. Like that stuff's not realistic. I think that you would have saw that maybe in the 80s, but this is what this is what we have had that conversation about modern versus traditional. I think that most men have adapted to the role of the modern man, meaning that they are willing to take on duties around the house because their woman is working. See, this goes back to what I was saying before about you need two incomes just for survival to make it through the end of life, through retirement. You need two incomes. I think subconsciously most men know that. That's why they're okay with, okay, well, yeah, she working, she don't necessarily have to have a career, but she got a source of income coming in, and because of that, I can help out with, cooking a couple meals around the house. You know what I'm saying? She working a long hours a day, so I'm gonna pick the kids up from school, cook them dinner, get them washed up, all that good stuff. Or it's the weekend and I got to go in, so my wife's gonna take care of everything, and then but by the time I get off, it's give and take. This is what I also mean when I say 50-50 relationships, because 50-50 it's only till in the past couple of years, I would say probably in the last 5 years, that we changed the definition to mean that it's 50-50 with the bills. That's not what traditionally those relationships were about. It was always about responsibilities within the marriage, we're going to share in responsibilities, meaning that's what it means by when people say we're equally yoked. We're equally yoked with responsibility. So if even in situations where the guy is the breadwinner, right? Okay, well, how do you offset that? How do you offer balance to that? Well, I'm going to take care of everything at home so he doesn't have to worry about that. Now, that's an extreme example, but you guys get what I'm saying. Because most families in the U.S., you got both people working, and then they balance the at home life with contributions from the both of them.
Are always helping in the house. So it's a mindset because someone can push you to work and the economy is, effed up everywhere in the world. Eggs are also expensive here. So, like over there, how much are you paying for it? Like $12 or something like that?
I saw a $6 carton the other day and was like, "What?
$6?
It's not even organic. It's
Wait,
regular.
did you say $6?
It was the regular. That's why I was like, "Excuse me, did I?"
Like
I didn't
organic,
know.
maybe, but
Listen, y'all.
Yeah. So what we have here is, number one, we need to be promoting more marriages, because this whole "I don't need a man" thing, I think our women are starting to wake up to this and realize what's actually going on. I agree with Sugar Mike that you have the private sector. I think there's some government and benefit, and there's a couple ways the government is benefiting from it too. But this whole mindset of I'm independent and don't need a man, it just doesn't work long term. I mean, like I said, my previous career, I could see the numbers, and it's like this is not working. What you're doing, you need to make some changes. You need to you should be looking to get married, both men and women. We need each other. And we looked at some numbers today that actually proved that. It said that if you plan on having kids, you definitely should be married, because that's to give them, so you're not starting them off at a deficit. We already know that. But even if you're looking to make it to the end of life, unless you got some kind of extreme financial windfall coming your way, most people, or you're not going to make it. So, yeah, we need more marriages. And we also need more people who are married making content, so we get different examples of how different ways that marriages can work. And it's not just one way. And if it does, well, we're not doing it like this, so this is too hard and we should just go our separate ways. Going separate ways we've proven that doesn't work. So you need to figure it out. But look, guys, great conversation. I'm going to say goes to the next time. Peace.